Boss Lady Conversations with Monica L.
and Coach Kaya.
Boss ladies are
Vulnerable,
authentic,
love,
hopeful,
abundant.
respected.
Boss ladies are
You.
Welcome back, Boss Lady listeners. I am Monica L., a boss lady, Cleveland-born, LA raised, on a journey of freedom and happiness as an educator, entrepreneur, self-published author, and poet. Let's get it. My IG handle is at MonicaL_writer.
Hey, boss ladies. I'm your girl, Coach Kaya. I'm a boss wife, mompreneur, sister, writer, and certified transformational coach. I help dreamers access their power by healing the trauma of their past, reigniting their dreams, and manifesting the miracles that truly matter today. My IG handle is at I am Coach Kaya.
And we just want to shout out all of our listeners. We know that time is so precious, so we appreciate you being a part of us as we are part of you. Sending love and light on Boss Lady Conversations. We are international as well, so shout out to Panama. We'll see you soon. And we have so many amazing things on the horizons, so please be sure to just listen and follow us on IG.
That's the truth, Monica L. When we started this podcast, I don't know if we knew for sure where it would go and how much fun it would be. But that's the thing, boss ladies. Sometimes you just have to start. Be willing to take the first step and know that your journey will unfold exactly as it's supposed to. And if what you're doing is fun and it brings joy and love and light to your life, keep doing it.
Right. Keep doing it. Living your dream. Again, your dream only dies when you don't pour into it or feed into it. And our mission is to support you as you support us and boss up on Boss Lady Conversations. I am so excited about today, Coach Kaya.
So am I. Today's topic, I did a thing, bossing up through writing and community relations with Adrienne Draper, is designed to really help you get a better understanding of why going after your dreams, doing the things that matter to you is a superpower. So today's topic was really inspired by an Instagram post that I saw by the Phenomenal brand. They reposted Eli Kremendel's post that said, girls will say, I did a thing, and it's a PhD in molecular biology. And so Phenomenal posted, hey, we want to know the thing that you did. Please share in the comments. And there were so many amazing things that people shared in the comments. And one thing that I really loved was they even said, if you took a luxurious nap, that counts too. And we believe in rest as a revolutionary practice on Boss Lady Conversations. So this particular Instagram contributor said, Caster in jest, she said, I did a thing. I finally became comfortable with myself and what I want in life and relationships for the very first time. Mahi Mahi said, I got a PhD in analytical chemistry. Manifestation author said, I did a thing. I wrote my first book. Big Heart Candle Company said, I beat end-stage heart failure in my 30s. Ellie and Alfred said, a coworker tried to pass off their work to me and I replied with a no as a complete sentence. Okay, she put a period right there and left it there. Back to the Roots Healing said, I didn't give up. I'm still pressing on. I love this so much and I felt it was so inspiring. And I think it's so important that when you do a thing, there is no such thing as a small thing if it matters to you.
Yes, Coach Kaya. Well, I'm going to go a step deeper. I think as women, we'd be like, I did blah, 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 blah. But we just make it feel like I walked to my car. And it's like, no. Even our regular days will wear out some people. They be like, whoa, you did all of that. But we just like, that's my routine. That's what I have to do. I have this cape on that I didn't ask for, but it's on. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my significant other. And that's a lot. Anyone who says anything about a science, I'm just like, whoa. I don't care what science it is. I'm just like, wow, you made it through that. Because I felt like the sciences was a foreign language. I just couldn't get it. But no, you're right. We need to normalize giving ourselves credit for anything. I mean, sometimes it's just simple as I got out the bed today and I was in my right mind and that I had pure thoughts and I really just went through my day and I didn't even think of anything else but just positive. I mean, just really, and this time we really just need to normalize just being, and the fact that we are able, as we move into our second year of this global pandemic.
There it is. And doing a thing is surviving at this point. So that matters. In today's Boss Lady conversation, I did a thing, bossing up through writing and community relations. We have the honor and pleasure of speaking with author, educator, and humanitarian Adrienne Draper. Adrienne has done a lot of things, especially during this pandemic, okay? So she's an acclaimed author, poet, academic, and mental health messenger who leverages her social and professional influences to ensure equitable educational advantages for marginalized youth. She received her bachelor's in public communication from Missouri Baptist University, her Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from Lindenwood University, and her Teaching Artist Certificate from the Teaching Artists Institute Regional Arts Commission. So, wow, we are so proud to have you here. Welcome, Boss Lady Conversations, Adrienne.
Hey, Adrienne.
Hey, thank you.
No, we're so happy to have you here with us. You are amazing. I mean, all those accolades. Oh my gosh. Like, for real, you did a thing and then some.
Right. It continues, right?
Yes, yes.
So, Adrienne, if you had to give your Boss Lady journey a book title, what would it be?
I would probably say Beyond the Midpoint. And I say that because when I first went off to college, it was a church down the hill from our university. And the pastor, he did a sermon one time where he was talking about when you get to that midpoint, when most people get to that midpoint, that's when everything hits them really hard and most people turn around. And he said, the same distance forward is the same if you turn around. So just keep pushing forward. So for me, I have always went beyond the midpoint when life happens or whatever. I've never allowed situations to stop me. It may slow me down, but it's still motion. It's still movement.
Whoa. Just came out the gate swinging. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, St. Louis. That's what's up. I was like, yes, that is right. Like, we're still going forward. We ain't going back. Why are we going back? It's the same distance. No, not going back. Got it. I love that. So, Adrienne, how has writing and community relations inspired your Boss Lady journey?
Well, service is the rent we pay for the space we occupy. So at a young age, I was always taught to be of service to others. So we were already doing community service. And my mother, she always had a good relationship with people. So it really didn't matter the age. And so quite naturally, my brother, my sister, and I, we've all had an influx of friends. And we've all been natural leaders and go-getters. So for me, I think it's very important to still be connected to the community. And be it writing, be it the different events that we put on. We just love to give back. And a lot of that is normalizing people. So one of the programs I work for is an organization called Poetry for Personal Power. It's actually housed in Kansas City. And we basically talk about everybody goes through adversities. And our job is to help you find your personal power. And personal power is not just poetry. Personal power could be gardening, whatever it is that gives you strength to push through. So for us, well, for me, I enjoy making others happy. I enjoy being a reflection of love because that's something that I think is very important. It's not our jobs to see flaws in others. So
love, a reflection of love.
Excuse me. See, you already got me taking notes. I'm like, wait a minute. And so in the theme of I did a thing, we want to know the things that you've done that make you feel really proud and bossed up.
Oh, okay. Well, I do believe, when you're a kid, you say, oh, I want to do this when I grow up, or I want to do that when I grow up. And I think that one day I kind of sat back as an adult a few years back, and I was like, hold on. Because I remember one of my uncles was like, you said you wanted to be a lawyer. I said, when did I say I wanted to be a lawyer? And he was like, you don't remember? And then he went back to a conversation. This was over 20 years ago. And he went back to a conversation. And I'm like, I did say that. But it was more like I started thinking about what all did I want to do? So when I thought about it, I always said I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to teach on a collegiate level. And then an opportunity presented itself and I taught on a collegiate level. And then it was like, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be a writer. And then I did it. So it's like certain things I said I wanted to do, I did or whatever. So it's more like, I think sometimes we limit ourselves with just one thing when if you have multiple talents, tap into them all. So I think for me, event planning and PR and so many other things, even mental health. Mental health was not something that was on my radar naturally, but it kind of ended up being something I absolutely adore. So for me, I think I checked out a lot of boxes of as far as what I said I wanted to do. So when I kind of reflect back, it's like if I don't do anything else, I've did enough.
My God, so your cup is full and runneth over. I like that. And it's okay. And I like that you said that. That's going back to normalizing. You know, people like, you can't be all these things. Who said I couldn't? Some people believe like you got to stay on this one track. Because if you don't stay on this one track, you're not going to do it well. What they call it, a jack of all trades, a master of none. That's not true. That's not true. You don't have to limit yourself. The brain is amazing. And they say we don't even use like the capacity that we have. And so it's like, yeah, it's definitely, I love everything that you said. And I love that people listen to you. And they basically was making sure you remember what you had said. Yes. So you're like, yeah, I said it and I'm still doing it. And I'm sure in all of your various professions that there's some legal in there too. So it may not be. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because if you say you're an instructor and you got books, yes. So with that being said, what would you say was the catalyst for you following through with your dream of writing? Like, what was the thing that said, no, I'm doing this in the pandemic and your market? What was that?
Well, prior to the pandemic, I've written, my sister and I both, we've already had books in our catalog, but we had never published them. And I had a client that I edited book. So he came back months later and he said, hey, you know, I'm doing a publishing camp for kids this summer or whatever. I would love for you to be on my team. I said, okay, hire my sister as well. So it's more like I wrote the curriculum up or whatever. And so the theme of the books that the students had to write, and this was middle school students, they had to write a book either about substance abuse or about, I think, mental health. So the crazy thing is, here it is, these students wrote these books and they were published. And me and my sister were like, how did we help publish all these kids and we are still not published authors? So that kind of sparked us into like, okay, it's time to move. So since then, we have, between the two of us, we have over 10 books published and we've helped others along the way as well.
Wow. I mean, I hope y'all feel God all up and through this. So, because what I heard was you were giving back to the community. And by you giving, you was like, wait, I can do this for myself. And just to think about middle school kids can say that they're a self-published author. Like some of us are still trying to get middle school kids to read, period, and have that interest. But look, you took it to a whole nother level, like even before they probably even do taxes. Like that is so amazing. And that they know they can do that. And I'm all for that because after being in education for so long, I do realize college is great. College is amazing. I am pro college, but also some of our babies just need to have a skill set. They need to have a skill set that they can take and do things with. Everybody doesn't have to necessarily go to college, but I would prefer that. But if they don't, let them have another lane where they can make income and have a great life for themselves. And so you taught them a skill that they can carry on forever.
And it's so funny you say that because the last district I worked for, I was a consultant for their CTE, College and Career Technical Education Program or whatever. So the reality is, you know, some of those students did pathways while they were in high school. And the thing I did different was I made sure that they saw their options. Everybody's not going to go to college or whatever. So let's tap into what you're good at. So different times I took them to like college tours or whatever, or we did job shadowing, field trips or whatever. And it's like, I want to be a nurse. Okay, what type of nurse? Geriatric, pediatric? Do you want to work in a hospital? When you start asking those questions, it's like it confuses them. I want a business degree. Oh, okay. So do you want your own business or do you want to manage a business? Do you want, and then it's like, I just want a business. It gets them frustrated because they say things to kind of shut you up, but they haven't thought outside of just saying it. So it's like, once you start exposing them, we had an allied health program. I took them to the Midwest Transplant Center. So it was a field trip or whatever for them to kind of understand donating your organs, this and the other. So we had to boot up and suit up while we were there. So that was exciting for them. So by the time we went downstairs, it was basically like the morgue. When that car comes through and they have it for them, if they ship the body in or whatever, or the organs in, and then whoever that needs it, they come to this spot. So we're seeing this area, whatever, where magic is happening. So it was some guys in another area and they were working on the cells and so one of the students was like, I bet you had to go to school for like 1,000 years. And they're like, nah, just 4 years. So how did you go just for 4 years? Oh, I have a degree in biology, or I have a degree in chemistry. You can do this. And so it was one of those things whereas if they've never been on that field trip, they would have been limited to just thinking, oh, I'll just be a CNA. Okay, go beyond being a CNA. Okay, how about think about being an LPN, and from an LPN going to being an RN? And it's just like keep building from that or whatever. So for me, it's been different times where I just like to expose. I think it's a big deal to expose. And I think sometimes in education, the people who need the most exposure are the students who are not allowed to go on field trips. So when, your behavior, we can't take you anywhere. When you start teaching a kid that early on, then it limits their possibility of they can be anything they want to be. So like for me, my message is totally different. Because I do believe sometimes once you hit that middle school, high school, you start getting a different message from educators. Oh, you want to be a lawyer? You're going to have to do a lot of reading. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to be in school for 8 years. And it's sort of like, I don't want. And it's more like instead of encouraging them and saying, you know what, you are really good in math or whatever. I think you'll be excellent or whatever. This is going to be so easy for you because you already catch on early. They don't talk to them in that way. And it's a lot of people, especially, I can't even say post-COVID because it's still going on, but it's a burnout already with a lot of educators. So it's more like, I feel sorry for the next generation. I'm sorry.
I'm so glad that you said that because people listening will be aware of like when that's happening, right? When the words that are coming out of your mouth are actually killing dreams and not inspiring young people. And I think that's so important because as adults, right, we're adulting, right? We got all this stuff going on and our minds are in all of the places, but you have to be very particular about what you say to a child.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you said that in every role we play. So I wanted to know, what advice would you share with listeners, who want to write children's books, but kind of get caught up in all the things, right? Do I self-publish? How do I do it? What if I don't have the words for this particular age group and all of the things that can kind of create barriers to like how you get started?
So I do believe that you do have the option if you want, because that's the thing. I'm not yay or nay. I'm neutral when it comes to self-publish versus having an agent. I do believe you have to shop around with both because even with self-publishing, I had a client who the publisher that she went with, they were robbing her. So when she was getting her book wholesale, she's paying $12 for one book. So if she's trying to sell the book, she has to sell it minimum 15 plus just to make a small profit. Whereas if you go with a different publisher, they might only charge you $3 or $4 wholesale for that same book. So it's like understanding who makes the money. Because sometimes or whatever, you can kind of get caught up. Or sometimes, I'll just go with this company because they already have the illustrator and I'll just get their illustrator. Then, because with the same client, the words didn't match the pictures. So either they need to go back in and change the pictures or you're going to have to go back in and change the wording because it confuses the reader. So I will say this with self-publishing, and this is just truthfully, me being completely honest, it's a lot of work because it's self, meaning that you are going to be the one who's promoting it. You are going to be the one who's funding it. So it's more like when it's you got to go hard in the grain. So it's so many avenues with that. And then with self-publishing, it's already this thing about They don't take it seriously in the mainstream because they don't believe you're going to have it well edited. They don't believe you're going to have it to where it can go mainstream. So make sure that if this is something that you really want to do, that you go hard. And I will say, get an editor, because you want to make sure that the verb tense is correct. You want to make sure that your sentences flow great. You don't want to, especially if you decide that you're not going to do a children's book and you want to do a chapter book. It's a thing called character overload. You don't want 10 plus characters in your book, because how is your readers going to follow along? Title versus topic is something I talk about, because just because your topic could be about one thing, your title doesn't need to be that. Your title is very important, because think about when you buy a book or when you read an article, the title of it is what brings you in. So think long and hard on what you want your title to be. And if you are going to write like a fiction or a nonfiction or whatever, another skill I talk about is show, don't tell. And I believe that instead of saying that it's winter, describe it. Don't say it was the dead of winter. Describe what that looks like. If you're talking about, if he was angry, what does anger look like? Did he ball his fists up? Did he scrunch his eyebrows? Did he grit his teeth? Think about those kind of things when you're writing, because it's totally different from a children's book, whereas you have pictures to kind of follow along with the story. So with my children's book, Rona, Rona, Go Away, the pictures kind of show what it looked like in regards to the coronavirus, as far as the kids being so excited about spring break and the extra week. And then it started to be real for them when it turned into the extra week turned into an extra month. And then the playground is taped off like a crime scene. And then the grocery stores, and you have to wear masks everywhere you go. And now you can't see family and friends. Talk about, I mean, for kids, the visuals of that looks one way. But if you're writing a chapter book and you're telling that same story, it's more like you have to be descriptive in your wording or whatever. You have to paint that picture in the head of your reader or whatever with imagery. So I do believe that making sure that you have the capital, the money to back it up, a good team, an editor or whatever. And if you have a writer's group or whatever, join a writer's group and shop it around to your peers or whatever, so that they can kind of say, okay, well, if I were you, I would kind of change this or whatever, because that's helpful as well.
You just gave us a whole masterclass. Boss Lady Conversation is going to be like, I'm writing a book. That did it. I'm writing a book. That was really, really, really good advice. I am a self-published author, and everything you said was yes. I did not do a chapter book, though. Let me be clear. I did poetry and I did affirmation in a college book. So it's a modified chapter book, but I love everything that you said. I wish I would have known you maybe about 2 years ago. But yes, that was really, really good advice. I know that when I was going through the journey of trying to figure all of this out without having the credentials in that area, the two things that stood out to me was like, yes, an editor and a book cover designer. Because like you say, that's what people are picking up, so that is so important. So I appreciate everything that you said. So as we move forth with the show, I would like to move into the next segment and to know, we know that you've honored your role as a mental health messenger, and you are quoted by saying, which I love, let me just say that first. I don't stand on a pedestal to be admired, but on a platform to inspire. So tell us more about that, because that is hot. That's fire. That's gonna be a post on our IG, just so you know, right?
Well, it goes back to my childhood as far as the superior, inferior. My mother always drilled in us that nobody's better than you and don't make others feel less than. So it was always, you're all on the same level. So it's more like understanding that in order to meet somebody where they are, you have to be relatable. And I think when I go into women's shelter, when I go to the detention center, when I go to different organizations, even high schools, wherever I am, even if I'm in a grocery store, my kids say, who don't you know? Because sometimes it's something as simple as me complimenting somebody that'll turn into a conversation. And it's more like just being a support to somebody and a listening ear. Sometimes that's all somebody needs in that moment. So for me, I don't ever want to feel like I'm up here, when I'm speaking to anybody or whatever. I'm not an elitist. So it's more like for me, I'm relatable. I'm human. And I think that's what has worked for me thus far.
And I can tell like the passion that you have when you speak about this, like we can feel your heart. And I think that's so important. And with that being said, I know that as educators, we're all educators on this call as well. What advice do you have for servant leader bosses who struggle with compassion fatigue?
Ooh, that part right there. So, and it's so crazy because compassion fatigue, and then they have a thing called trauma stewardship, and it's basically the same thing. And I personally have been struggling with that recently. That's been a recent struggle of mine because here it is in education, I care. At home, I care. With friends and family, I care. And it's more like I had a moment where I felt like I just don't want to care. Is it okay for me to not care for just a minute or whatever? Because it's too much. When you carry so much of everybody on you, and it's more like, do I have permission to just have a moment of just me or whatever? And it's more like it's a level of guilt sometimes that you feel when you just don't have self-care present. Because sometimes I put so much on my plate and I keep myself so busy that the older I get, the more my body's like, you don't have a battery in your back. You can't keep going like this. Slow it down, ma'am. And it's more like setting up new boundaries and being realistic, because it starts to feel like, do I have an off day? Because even my Saturdays, even my Sundays, I'm just doing. And it's more like, you're going to explode. And there's nothing wrong with being of service to others, but you have to take care of you too. And then every day is a new day. So I think sometimes, especially in education, sometimes it's easy for some to either not care at all or to care too much. So it has to be that happy balance.
Right. And so well said. And we do talk about that on Boss Lady Conversations of self-care, finding your balance. We all understand working, like we're working, like we got a full-time job. We are full-time, ... And you're right. And you wanna care. We are caring individuals. You can feel that vibration. So to have to stop and be like, I cannot do anything else if I don't have anything to give. Like I said, your cup overflow, but you got to take care of yourself in order to give to others. So I'm glad that you said that and acknowledged that, because so many times we don't, and we just think we're just supposed to keep going until you literally fall out. So your body says, okay, I'm gonna just stop you. Don't worry about it.
So I'm gonna be personal until how it happened to me. So back in, it was Thanksgiving weekend or whatever. I had took the kids out of town or whatever. We were leaving one state to visit friends in another state. And on the way, we had an accident on the highway. And it was something airborne, bust the passenger window out. And it was one of those things to whereas that shook my whole world. But I had to be normal because I didn't want to freak my kids out. So we still had to push through. And it was like, I called my brother and he kind of coached me on everything I need to do to get through it. And it was like the day that I came back in town, called my mom to let her know, hey, I'm back. She said, you take the rental back? I was like, yeah. And then she's like, call your siblings and meet me up. Come to my house. I already knew something. So my mom let us know that she had breast cancer. So then unexpectedly, a week later, my brother passed. And he had a heart attack at my job. So picture me going back to work every day. And this is where my brother basically was last alert. So it's like, then when I say it was like, boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba. And it's like, here it is, I'm getting hit from each direction, but my phone is still ringing off the hook with everybody else's problems. It's like when people are so used to you being the one who shows compassion and, the listening ear, it's like I was so numb. It was so difficult for me to be that or whatever. And it was like, it felt like no one really understood that I still got to go to work and I still have to put in, once I get out that car in the parking lot, my life don't matter. It's all about the kids, because I never want to be that educator who takes it out on the kids, my personal life. So it's more like I leave it in the car, come in, good morning. Oh, I like it. Somebody got a new haircut and I'm her. But it's more like numb. But I don't have permission to grieve. I don't have permission because I'm still with that care. I care all day, every day. And it was one of those things to whereas I said, I can't do this on my own. And I think I'm an advocate for counseling or whatever. I reached out and I got grief counseling because I said, I don't have the tools necessary. And one of my cousins, she said, you're a mental health messenger. You do this all the time as far as helping people through this process. I said, but it's me. It's different when it's you. You know what I mean? I know all the tools, I know all the things to say, but when it's you, it's sometimes it's totally different. That's why a lot of psychologists have their own therapists. You know what I mean? Because we still got to process through all of the things that we deal with. So I don't even know. I feel like I get on a tangent.
No, you are exactly where this conversation needs to be.
Okay.
And we just send in love and light to you, because that's not an easy, and I'm really proud of you for putting yourself first in that moment, because you have to be here for you and your family. Yes. So we wanted to know, which boss ladies inspire you to keep standing in your greatness?
Which boss ladies? I would definitely say I have some dynamic women in my family. My mother being the first. Or whatever. And I say that because my mother never complained. She just made a way. Like if something were to happen, you know how some people like get stuck in whatever that is or whatever. And it's like for her, it's like she just pressed through like seamlessly, like nothing ever happened. So quite naturally, it's like if something happened in my life or whatever, it's like I didn't allow it to defeat me, because I always had in my head, I'm not the first. Other women have been where I am. I just got to keep going. And it's more like, because I originally went to HBCU briefly, my first year and a half, and then I came back because my sophomore year I got pregnant with my son. And it was more like, I'm not quitting school. I'm just going to have to go part-time or whatever. So that's why I say the whole, you just got to keep moving. Even if it slows you down, you have to keep moving. And it was more like, so when I taught at the university, incoming freshmen, the first thing I told them, I said, listen, I said, raise your hand if anybody, you know anybody who graduated from college. Few hands went up. I said, raise your hand if you know somebody with college credits. All the hands went up. I said, the myth is it's hard to get into college. I said, no, it's hard to finish because life happens. I said, the thing about it is pregnancy happens, death happens. I said, finances happen. Life is going to happen, and you have to figure out, are you going to be that person with college credits, or are you going to be the person who finishes? And I said, don't give yourself the timeline of 4 years. If you need 5 years, you need 5 years. If you need 3 years, you need 3 years. And you go to summer school every year to get it through it faster. I said, but your pace is your pace. I said, but, so for me, it's always been that. So it's like, I have a friend, and she's like, every time things get hard for her, she always think of me. She was like, I mean, you were in grad school and you had 4 kids and you going to school full time. You went, like all this stuff, and it was just like, and you know what I mean? I'm not the first. It's like in my head, I'm not the first or whatever. So it's like, it's women before me, it's men before me, it's people before me who've been in my shoes or whatever. And you just got to keep going. So it's more like, with what me and my sister do, and with Poetry for Personal Power, a lot of the different things we do and a lot of different doors that have been opened was me just going into spaces and reminding people that life is going to happen. We all go through adversities, but let's figure out what your personal power is. How can we help you? And even with one of the things, I'm a RAP trainer, and RAP stands for Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And just like we set goals for our careers and our future, you got to set goals for your emotions too. Because realistically, especially when I go to the juvenile detention center, it's more like, okay, we have some friends who made some poor choices. Okay. So what are your triggers? Okay. So what does it look like when you get mad? Okay. So what helps you? What calms you? So here's your wellness toolbox. Okay. You listen to music. Okay. You write. Okay. You talk to somebody. You do this. So here's the thing. Before we get to lashing out, let's stop in the middle and use these toolboxes or whatever to kind of combat it escalating into a volcano. So it's more like, for me or whatever, it's like helping them kind of have strategies for dealing with whatever comes their way. And then being realistic about who is your support to, your support system. Like, who can you go to? Because you'll be surprised how many, even adults, don't have that support. So we go into these spaces or whatever, and we do these RAP trainings or whatever. And it's like, they take the nose down and they're serious about it or whatever, but it's in such a way that normalizes what's going on. And like I said, I put myself out there with different things I experience, just like the other trainers or whatever. And we just let them know, hey, I'm no different from you. And that's the thing, even when I when I first started at the district I'm at, I never say, oh, I have these letters behind my name. I just come in and I'm a regular Joe. But the crazy thing is when they Google you or when they decide they want to be on your social media and they're like, did you know? And it's like, how does it feel to be an author? I say, it feels the same way it's felt for the last 11 years. You know what I mean? It's like they think, oh, I saw you on the news. I'm still the same person who came to work yesterday and told you good morning. I'm no different, but it's more like for some people, they expect that pedestal. I'm not on a pedestal. You know what I mean? I'm still the same person. I don't have to say who I am. I'm just here. So.
Oh my gosh, I feel so connected to you. I know we just met, but I mean, just everything you're saying, like we're still people. We're still people. We're people maybe on different journeys or different professions, but they're still people. And you're right. I love the toolbox because I think a lot of times we're not even, some of us are not even encouraged to show our emotions. And so then when you have certain emotions, you're right, it can go from 0 to 100 because you don't even know to step back, to breathe, be in the moment. You don't have to react to everything. Every word that's said to you should not trigger you to go and do something that could be detrimental to your life, your freedom. So like you say, just talking to people, and everybody don't have support. And to me, that's very sad, especially when you're talking about children. We know how life can be when you're an adult, but still I feel like when you're 0 to 18, you should have someone who is caring for you, modeling you and showing you these things. So yeah, you touched upon a lot of things, and you're a light. And like you say, you keep going. We all have adversity, but keep going. You can't just sit in it. And we know depression is real. And like you say, your mind, you can control your mind and this outlook. It's not about your physical space, but what you have created for yourself. So with that, as we come to a close, how can our listeners purchase your book or connect with you? And what's next on the horizons?
Well, it's kind of crazy because, I wouldn't say it's kind of crazy. Well, my brother who recently passed, he wrote a children's book last year called Shell Wants to Be. I said Shell Wants to Be. He wrote a children's book called Shell Wants a Dog. And my niece at the time or whatever, she wanted a dog. And for him, he was explaining what all comes with having a dog. So it's the cutest book. It's the cutest book or whatever. And our illustrator last year did not follow through. So it's like, here it is, he passed away. And it was like, that was one of the things that was really important to me and my sister was making sure that book was still out there. So we're starting a scholarship fund in his name, as well as the Free Foundation. So his birthday is upcoming. So the book is for purchase or whatever. And I'm going to have it on my website too. But the book is for purchase, but it's all proceeds go towards the scholarship. And he was a basketball coach as well. So it's more like making sure that we still support his endeavors as far as, his team, as well as the scholarship. But you can go to my website, adriennedraper.com. The books are also available on Amazon. The whole list of my books you'll find on my website. If you need to contact me, you can contact me on my website as well. And I'll get back with you within a day.
And God bless your brother's memory. Would you speak his name?
Marlon Cordez Owens Sr. My sister and I, we wrote a children's book together, and it's called Coach Mo and the Kings. And it's basically talking about a little story about him and his team or whatever. But we're keeping his legacy going or whatever. We come from a family of, it's almost like we call ourselves the first family of literacy. Because I have a son who wrote a children's book as well, and it's called Little Boost. And it's a cool, neat book. Same thing happened with his book, but it'll be for purchase as well. And I have that available on my website as well. But yeah, I think it's very important for us to be seen in such a light. So a lot of my characters, you will see men in our books or whatever, because, a lot of times they showcase the grandmothers or the mothers or whatever. So a lot of our main characters, sometimes you'll see the dads and the grandfathers. So, and the coaches. So, because I feel like those people are our heroes as well. And we don't honor them as loud as we should.
I love that so much. I recently wrote a children's book and I highlighted my grandfather. My grandfather. I highlighted my son and my father. So I appreciate that so much. And you've done so much, but I get a sense that you're really just getting started. And that's so exciting for all of us. Like, yes, so exciting. That's our show for today. But here's a recap of some of the many, 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 many gems that Adrienne shared with us today. Number one, it's not our job to point out the flaws in others. Choose to be a reflection of love. Number two, think about the things you've always wanted to do and tap into them. Don't limit yourself. Number three, if your goal is to be a published author, be willing to put your best foot forward. Hire the right support. Number four, when people are so used to you being the one to help everyone else, you have to give yourself permission to care for you and seek support. We hope you enjoy connecting with the fabulous, amazing Queen Boss Lady, Adrienne Draper, today and learning more about how life-changing servant leadership and writing can be. Thank you so much, Adrienne. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, boss ladies.
We love this. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
If you haven't already done so, please follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio.
And you'll be notified whenever we post a new Boss Lady Conversation episode.
You are who you say you are.
You're destined for great things. Your life matters each and every day.
Now go get your blessings, boss ladies.